Hello everyone, welcome back to another video in the recording for the do-it-yourself songwriter course. Today we're going to be talking about the reasons why you would want to build your own studio. Those are important. And also we're going to be talking about equipment and all your equipment options. Once again, I'm basing this out of my book that it's called Recording for the Do-It-Yourself Songwriter. You do not need the book to do this free course. However, it will help because it's available in audio through Audible and it's available in Amazon, and it's a good companion. There's different things in the book and there's a lot more in the course. So anyway, the reasons why we want to record. Well, first of all, it's in our blood, and we write music, and I know there's a lot of people, different genres, but it's all the same concept that and the goals that we want to share the music. We want to make some money with this music. So anyway, some of the reasons to building your own recording studio at your house. Some of the benefits. Well, number one, you save money. The last I checked, it was like $75 an hour in a good studio, in a decent studio. $75 an hour. If you have your own, then you don't have to pay that, right? You do have to spend money on equipment, but that's equipment that you keep and that you get to learn how to use, etc. So save money is a big benefit. You save time. And with time comes more creativity. So for instance, if you want to experiment with a song, whether you're in a band or a solo writer, if you want to experiment with different parts, how they fit, different mixes, how they fit, instead of being paid an hourly rate plus the engineer, you get to be creative as long as you want at any time that you want. If you want to be recording till 6 o'clock in the morning, that's fine. If you're a day person, do it during the day. You have your own control. I mean, there's no time limit of your recording. So when you're not against the clock, you're going to be more creative, you're going to be more relaxed, you're going to even be able to write a song while you're recording it, or make an arrangement while you're recording it. In this course, we're going to be talking about arranging and stuff like that. Not everything is going to be at the same time. But I figure in this video I talk about your equipment options, whether you're an advanced player or if you're new to recording, this is the course for you. If you're even a veteran, you may pick some tips and tricks from it. I believe that we never stop learning. I sometimes watch some videos where I learn, I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, I'm a certified Logic Studio, and sometimes I'll watch somebody record and I'm like, oh, that was a good way of doing it, So it's good to pay attention. So let's talk about equipment. So you may be thinking, what should I buy? How do I start? Well, the first thing I want you to do really is to write down, seriously, grab up your iPad, your phone, a pen, pencil, whatever, and write down what your end goal is. Because all of you are going to be different. Whoever is watching this video, it's going to be different than the next person. So for instance, if you play in a band and your plan is to, let's say it's a quartet, and your plan is to record your band and you write with your band, then you're going to need different equipment than if you were a solo artist. Or you're going to need different equipment if you want to record in the club, or if you want to record in a room. So write down what your end goal is, what your goals are. This will pretty much tell you what you need, because a lot of people get bogged down in technology and naming the equipment they have, and what happens is that they end up buying a 64 track recorder with a Neve console, and and they don't even know 4 chords on the guitar, and believe me, I know some people like that. So for instance, my needs, I'll share with you my needs. Okay, I'm although I had a band for a long time, I'm a solo artist. I record almost 90% of my productions are just me, and then I'll bring in a sax player, a guitar player, or whatever, and I'll bring him to this room, and I'll do the production here. So my needs are very subtle. I don't play with the band, and we don't play like live. I play track by track. I build my track by track, and I already have my own way of doing it that I will share with you in future videos. So for instance, I record on a Apogee Duet. Okay, but anyway, let me tell you about the equipment that you may or want to buy depending of your knowledge. Maybe you have already some of it. I bet you a lot of them already have some stuff you can use, and the advantages and disadvantages of doing it. Okay, so the most obvious version to record in, obviously, is a computer, going the computer route. Now this could be a PC running Windows, or a Mac. I personally run a Mac. I did use a Cakewalk under Windows for a long time. It was a system that worked very, very well for me. It was Windows 95 running Cakewalk. At the time I was certified, and I used to teach recording at Thoroughbred Music, which is now Sam Ash. And I used to teach recording, and I was sponsored by Cakewalk, it was 12-tone systems at the time. Now this program is called Sonar. It worked for me a lot, but then things changed, and I moved to the Mac. And I'm very happy. I have an iMac. It's an older iMac, which is another thing. I gotta tell you, you don't have to have the latest thing all the time. My iMac that I'm recording is 11 years old, and I'm hoping to squeeze another 2 years out of it. So anyway, so the computer rat is a PC or a Mac, and the concept is the same. You have a multi-track recorder in the computer, which is basically what they call a DAW, digital audio workstation. And this program will run in your computer and will allow you to record separate tracks. Now, depending on the interface that you have, you'll be able to record 2 tracks at the same time, 4 tracks at the same time, 8 tracks at the same. This is why I want you to write down your needs. If you're a solo artist, a 2-track interface will be more than enough. If you have a band, you may want to have an 8-track interface that you can record 8 tracks at the same time. Now, the computer route has some advantages and disadvantages. The advantage of a computer route is that you have a monitor that shows you everything. You'll be able to see everything, all your tracks. Like right here, I'm gonna make some tracks right here. I'll just say, give me, I'm just gonna go with something that loads fast. Where's the electric piano there? I'm gonna say, give me 8 tracks. 8 tracks, boom. There are my 8 tracks. And then I can, have right here a bass, right here, drums, keyboards, guitars, whatever. And you can load audio tracks or load um, MIDI tracks, which I'll get into later. So for instance, here was software instrument. I switch to audio. I tell it to do me, let's see, another 8 tracks. Create 8 tracks. Now these are audio tracks. And that's, you can see everything right here. If I want to call my mixer, I bring in my mixer, there it is. If I want to edit, etc. But that's the computer route. Now the advantages is that you can see everything. The disadvantage, let me see if I can read some of the advantages here from the book. Everything's in front of you. You can edit easier. Everything's within a mouse click. Your computer, you probably already have one. It'll be able to store a lot of music. I mean, you'll be able to have a lot of files there. You can mix, master. You can write your letters. You can mark it yourself. You can even make your graphic card. I mean, the CDs are still selling, so you can even make CDs in your computer. Now, I know a lot of computers don't have a CD player now, but I mean, your computer is kind of like a thing that does everything, right? Now, the cons of it is that, well, it's bulky. I know computers are small, and like I have an iMac, and technically I can take it under my arm anywhere I want, but it's bulky. It's, it's not, and I gotta carry all my other peripherals with it. So it's portable, but not really, and you gotta carry other gadgets with it. You have to constantly do maintenance in it because the computer fills out, and since you're using it for other things, it fills up with all kinds of stuff, emails, photos, this and that, and you need your disk clean. And then when they change the operating system, all the other companies have to catch up to either Microsoft or Apple, and sometimes your software stops working or it's glitchy or whatever. That's not a lot, but for instance, I have to move to High Sierra because I couldn't run my stuff in Snow Leopard anymore. Snow Leopard and High Sierra are Mac operating systems, and but my computer won't run anything higher than High Sierra, so it was difficult for me. I had to bounce from one to the other. So computers kind of can get you upset. Like you want to run something sometimes, like a plugin, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you got to update this and you got to update that. So if you don't use it for a while, when you come back, you may be spending a couple hours updating all kinds of stuff because technology companies move quick. So the constant maintenance, right? The operating systems change constantly too. If you don't already own a computer, which I bet you do, right? Or if your computer is too old, there is another way that you can go about it that can save you money, especially if you want just a clean system. What you can do is use an iPad or even an iPhone. And I know a lot of people think that these are toys. The iPad is incredibly powerful. You have less screen real estate, but it has some advantages. Number one is tactile, so you don't have to be using a mouse. You can either use your fingers or a pen. There are very powerful programs, multi-track recorder programs like Aria is one. I will have links for everything I mentioned on the description. The one that I use is Cubasis, makers of Cubase. In fact, my last well, a few CDs ago, there was one called Funky Groups and All That Jazz. It was completely recorded on the iPad. Um, um, it will run with the same interfaces, well, almost with all the same interfaces. When you buy an audio interface now, usually it runs with both iPad or Mac. So from now on, I'm just gonna either say iPad or iOS when I refer to iPad and iPhone, and Mac when I refer to the computer. Now, with both systems, you're gonna need an audio interface. There's something called the Go Solo. This one's nice too. I take this with me on the road a lot. The duet, the solo, there's a nice one called it's by Steinberg. The UR22 Mark II is correct. That computer, that interface is really, really nice. So it's a nice system. You can have your iPad, your things. Now, my CD that I recorded, what I did is I was using a Yamaha Modi X, and I went USB out to the iPad because the Yamaha Modi X has an interface in it. So I went out and just recorded audio. You know, I wanted to have it like a more loose feel rather than recording MIDI, and it came out great. You can use also like a Behringer mixer that has USB audio out. You can use that as an interface, and it works just fine. So just do some research. I mean, I would recommend you get the Duet. The Apogee Duet, it's really, really good. But it's pricey. If you want to save some money, I would go with the Steinberg UR22. But the Go Solo is nice too. So I mean, you can't go wrong with any of those. Now, the pros and cons to use an iPad. Well, the iPad, well, the cost, because you may already have an iPad, and if you have an iPad, well, the cost and and I'll give you the comparison. If you buy Logic on a Mac, it's going to cost you $200. If you buy Cubasis or Aria on an iPad, it's going to cost you $50. So, you know, and it really, you're not going to have better recordings because you're recording on a computer or an iPad. You're going to have better recordings if you're good at what you do. Another pro, besides the cost of the software for the iPad, is that it's incredibly portable. You take your interface, you take your little iPad, and you can put all your clothes in a backpack or whatever, and you go. You know, a pair of headphones, and you're fine. Your iPad is also a camera. Your iPad is, you can also edit video using like LumaFusion. You can also, I mean, you can do just about everything you can do on a computer, you can do on an iPad, just in a different way. It's more tactile. I will tell you that most of the time I'm on my iPad rather than in my computer. Now, to record music, I use both. I use mostly the computer only because I have a lot of money invested in plugins like Omnisphere and Trillion and other stuff that I have from Arturia, and some of them are not available in the iPad yet, but they're getting close. I don't really see any cons on an iPad system. because what happens is that, let's say that you want an 808 drum machine from the 80s. There are like dozens of apps that do that, and they're all like $1 or $5. Or Arturia has a great app called Spark. I think it's like $9. You want a mini Moog. Arturia has a mini Moog for the iPad, and it's I don't know, like $19 or whatever. So I mean, you're gonna spend a lot more money on a computer and in this computer software than you would in an iPad and the iPad software. And again, it's not what you have. It's not what you're recording in. It's how you're recording in it. So now if you get an iPad, get the one with the most memory that you can. Just do that. It'll minimize your maintenance in it. There's not as many things update automatically on an iPad, so you don't get all these notices like you do in the computer. So anyway, I even you can use an iPhone too. I mean, if you have an iPhone and you don't have any money, maybe you're a younger person right now, and you really want to record, but you can't afford an iPad. You don't have a powerful enough computer, but you do have an iPhone. You can run Cubasis on an iPhone. You can run some of these. There's one called Multitrack DAW. That's amazing on the iPhone, and they're multi-track recorders, and with an interface, you can go ahead and record on the iPhone. You also can run LumaFusion to edit videos, and of course it has a camera. I mean, you can do a lot of my advertisement for when I play at the clubs. Everything's done on my iPhone because I gotta do it quick. You know, actually, I wake up, I'm like, where am I playing today? Boom, 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 picture, graphic, this, boom, goes off to Facebook, Twitter, etc. So I mean, you can do this. On the iPhone, it's gonna be a little more frustrating, but if you have the patience, it can be done. And in fact, early on, there still is a software called BitMaker, and I did make a song that's actually gonna be in my next CD, but it's a song that I wrote a long time ago, like 10 years ago, and I did it all on an iPhone using BitMaker. And I mean, it sounds really good. I think at some point, at this point right here, I'm gonna put it as the background music so you can hear it, okay? And it's all done on an iPhone 11 years ago. Anyway, now there's another route that you can take, and this route is the dedicated digital recorder or the standalone digital recorder. And these are boxes that basically they're just recorders. There's a mixer, and now the advantage of this is that most of them already all record like 8 tracks at the same time. They double into a lot of things like drum machines, and they have effects. Some of them are. I have one right here that I use, and I will tell you how I used it. There were a few recordings that I did that my musicians couldn't come to the studio, so I had to record them live while we were playing in the club. And for instance, I used this, and this is the R16 Zoom. It's still being made, and they have a couple newer models. This machine records into an SD card, which is basically right here. So you have your SD card, and you put it here. and you have 8 tracks, and there's not a lot of buttons because everything is done through this little screen. But you can pre-program your scenes, and it records dry, like that is to say with no effects, into the SD card. And then when you bring it into your computer, you can edit it there, but you'll have a tiny little screen. When you bring it into your computer, it shows you all the WAV files already separate. So what I did is, and from this moment on, I'm gonna play the music of that recording. And I was playing some Latin jazz, and my sax player couldn't come to the studio. However, in the studio, he was never relaxed. He didn't play as well as he did when he played live. So I recorded the band, and then I just extracted the sax and used it on what I did on the studio. So that was, and this is what's playing right now, and in an album called Record the Sao. It was I wrote a few songs in homage of Antonio Carlos Jobim. From those of you that don't know, he wrote a lot of bossa novas and Latin music that were big hits in the 60s and 70s. And I'm not that old, but that's kind of music I've always liked. Anyway, so we have the digital recorder route. Now, Tascam makes excellent ones. Tascam, Fostex makes some. Those are the ones that I'm aware of. I really like the Zoom one because of its size. Tascam is a big desk one. The Zoom, you saw me holding it. It's tiny. It's pretty. It's sexy, and the effects are amazing. And it comes with like distortions for guitars and everything that are really, really good. The newer models have drum machines in them and some MIDI sounds that I wouldn't touch because I have better keyboards. And they're gonna run you around anywhere from $300 to $500. I don't know. You may find some used ones. Now the pros of this is, well, portability. You can record this all at the same time, and then you just bring them out, and you can remix them and you can do it all here. It's easier if you just go to the computer and do it. But the advantage is, for instance, I could salvage a recording date, because you don't have to organize all your musicians. Some of them may have kids, or they have a day job and they can't come at that time, so believe me, it's a headache. So portability. Now, reliability. These machines are very trustworthy. They're not gonna crash. A computer will crash. A computer will crash before an iPad crash, but the iPad too, sometimes depending on the program, they might crash. But you know what? I have never, using Cubasis, my iPad never crashed, and I put it through some serious recordings. So anyway, but my computer has crashed. Computers are more finicky. The standalone ones are very reliable. Okay, very reliable. If you just wanna be the engineer and the guy that produces a band, and you're not necessarily a musician, you can buy one of those and you can follow that band around, recording them all the time and getting the best out of it. Some of them, especially like the Tascams, have an out for a monitor, so then you can go ahead and edit more without the little screen. And they come with very, very decent effects. They double as mixers. In fact, I use this one as my main mixer for my show all the time. Okay, the price is another pro. because again, from $300 to $500. I mean, I'm sure some are more expensive, but you're under $1,000 for a very reliable system. They all give you the ability to work further on a computer system if you want. You can, I mean, once you record, then you can take your time in your room, but you had all your musicians together on the live event. Now, the advantage of a live event is that everybody's on. You know, nobody's like, it's not like you just woke up and you're like, oh, I gotta play this song and I just woke up. You know, they're on. And there's difference on the performance. There's a difference in the performance. Well, just that. You can use it as your main studio at home, or you can use it in a live performance. And that's a real pro, because I mean, theoretically you can take your iPad and your computer to a club and record a band, but there's too many wires. There's, you know, I mean, the idea is to connect as little things as possible. For that, I would always go to a dedicated digital recording. Now, the disadvantages, the cons of this kind of system, they have very small screens. You know, and unless you have a monitor out in one of them, and believe me, you'll pay for that monitor out, then the editing can be tedious. The learning curve may be very steep, more so than Logic or Cubasis. But once you know your machine, that's your machine. Once you know it, you'll be able to use it. Okay, another con, and I don't know if this is a con or not, but it's like it doesn't do anything else. That's all it does. It just records audio. That's it. I mean, some of them may have sound, some of them may be a drum machine, but I mean, that's all it does. I mean, an iPad and a computer you'll be able to do graphics, you'll be able to do a full production, you know. It also does not run any plugins. So this is for like live bands, you know, that you're just gonna be recording audio on whatever you feed it. That's what it's gonna come out. Now I have some recommendations here. You know, really for the size, price, and features, I recommend the Zoom R16. If you just want to record audio, that's my to-go one. It records 8 tracks at the same time. And it's small, and it records on an SD card that you can find for $10. I mean, you could have many of them there and just change them, you know, and you can record for hours and hours and hours. It also doubles as a audio interface, and it doubles as a surface, a control surface, which I'll tell you what that is later. So here's a list of the minimal equipment you need as a solo artist, okay? You will need to modify this according to your needs, but it can give you an idea. A computer of an iPad or dedicated recorder, an audio interface, headphones, monitor speakers, a suitable desk or table. This is important. I know you think like, what? Well, believe it or not, some people just like sit down in their coffee table or in their couch or whatever. If you're gonna work seriously and you're gonna work for a long time, get a suitable desk that you work on. You're gonna need cords, so you're gonna need at least 1/4 inch cord, instrument cord. You're gonna need a low impedance microphone cord for your microphone. Obviously, you're gonna need a microphone. But maybe you just play instrumentals and you don't sing. And you're gonna need 2 speaker cords at least. These are the minimal and you can start. All right, and all this is under $1,000. And I know we haven't started recording anything, and I've been just rambling for about 40 minutes. But the truth of the matter is that this is very important. Make your list. Know what your goal is, what your end game is. What is it that you want to accomplish? And then go get that equipment, either computer, iPad, dedicated recorder. I'm going to be using Logic, and I'll be using Cubasis on the iPad. I'll be bouncing back and forth. You can use whatever you want, and the concepts still apply to that, okay? Obviously, I'm going to be recording my song. Maybe you'll be recording yours, you know, and by the time this course is done, you will have some songs done, ready to go. And we're going to go slow and steady, so that if you have any questions, just please let me know on the comments. I try to get them when I can, but I will get there. Please, if you don't mind, check my music out. It's at eddie-g.com. Once again, that's eddie-g.com. eddie-g.com. It's available on Apple Music, Spotify, etc., etc., etc. Anywhere there's music. Also, let me know what you think. And also, it's not necessary to buy the book, but there's more information there. And it's available on Audible. It's called Recording for the Do-It-Yourself Songwriter. It's available in Amazon and Audible. And there'll be links in the description for everything I have mentioned on this video. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Okay?